Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're setting the stage for a truly fascinating look into one of the most famous and, let's be real, probably the most infamous pieces of political philosophy ever written. We're going to unpack Chapter 18 of Niccolo Machiavelli's seminal work, focusing specifically on the raw mechanics of power, leadership, and keeping faith. If you've ever found yourself wondering how leaders historically justified their actions behind closed doors, this text is literally the ultimate blueprint.
Okay, let's dive into this. Should a leader play by the rules or act like a beast? Right off the bat, it's a fundamental moral question that just hits you. We normally expect those in charge to be these upstanding ethical pillars, right? But Machiavelli instantly slices right through that expectation. He hooks us by setting up this incredible core tension, asking us to look at the cold, hard reality of maintaining power rather than just the polite, sanitized ideal of it.
Section 1. Law versus force, the two modes of fighting. So, to really understand how he answers that question, we first have to look at the foundational rule of Machiavelli's entire text. According to the source, a prince, or a leader, must master two entirely different arenas of conflict. First up is law, which Machiavelli states is proper to man. Second is force, which is proper to beasts. Now, in a perfectly good world, a leader would only ever need the law. But the text explicitly notes that this first mode, law, is very often completely insufficient in reality. Because of this, a successful leader must inevitably resort to force. To survive and maintain order, they absolutely have to know how to use both the beast and the man. Section 2. The lion and the fox. Choosing your beast. When a leader is forced to step into that beastly arena, they actually have a crucial choice to make about what kind of beast to embody. And this brilliantly illustrates Machiavelli's core metaphor by narrowing the choice down to two specific archetypes. Take a look at the lion. Its absolute strength is raw power. It frightens the wolves away. But its weakness? It cannot defend itself from snares. The fox is entirely different. Its strength is cunning. It perfectly recognizes the snares, but completely lacks the physical power to defend itself from wolves. So you can't just be one or the other. You strictly need the fox's mind to spot the hidden traps and the lion's roar to scare off the obvious threats. Section 3. When to break promises. The cynical reality. All right, now we're getting into how this whole beast metaphor applies directly to giving your word. Fair warning, the logic here gets extremely ruthless. Machiavelli states a prudent lord should break faith when the promise turns against him or when the original causes for the promise are eliminated. Think about that. A promise isn't a moral bind, it's just a strategic tool. Once it stops being useful to you, you drop it. And the justification for this? Well, it relies entirely on the dark assumption that men are inherently wicked and wouldn't observe faith with you anyway. Let's just pause for a second to let the full weight of this cynical 16th century quote sink in. Since they are wicked and would not observe faith with you, you need not observe it with them. Machiavelli is completely flipping traditional morality right on its head here. He says outright that if all men were good, this would not be good advice, but his entire framework is based on a deeply pessimistic view of human nature. You break faith first, because he assumes they were definitely going to break faith with you anyway. Section 4. The Arts of Deception. The Great Pretender. This is exactly where the cunning nature of the fox moves from abstract theory into practical application. Because it's not enough to just be sneaky behind closed doors. Machiavelli lays out the actual mechanics of being a great deceiver. First, you use the fox's nature to survive. But more importantly, you must color this nature well, meaning you have to be a great pretender and dissembler. Deception isn't just a suggestion here. It is absolutely required for success. You must expertly hide your fox-like nature from everyone else, projecting the image of a trustworthy person while secretly calculating every single move. Now, why does he think this kind of deception actually works on the general public? Machiavelli argues that men are simple and so obedient to present necessities. This matters incredibly today. People are highly vulnerable to manipulation because they're laser-focused on their immediate present needs. If a leader addresses exactly what people need right in this very moment, those people are far, far less likely to look closely at the trap being set right beneath their feet. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer, unwavering confidence in his strategy. He who deceives will always find someone who will let himself be deceived. Machiavelli assumes a perpetual, endless supply of gullible subjects. He figures that as long as a skilled leader plays the fox and colors their nature well, the public will continually fall for it, because at some level, they actually let themselves be deceived by the illusion. Section 5. Alexander VI. A case study. The master of deception. You see, Machiavelli doesn't just spin theories in a vacuum. He provides a real-world historical case study to prove his point. Pope Alexander VI. His historical track record was entirely built on this exact philosophy. Alexander never did anything but deceive men. He never thought of anything else, and he always found subjects to work on. Perhaps most revealingly, he completely weaponized the very concept of a promise, affirming things with the strongest possible oaths, yet observing them less than anyone else. He acted as the ultimate fox, thriving by constantly outmaneuvering those who took his word at face value. Which brings us directly to our conclusion, and a bit of a challenge for you. Are we still easily deceived by present necessities? And who is playing the fox today? I want you to take the insights from this explainer and use them as a lens to view the world around you. When you look at modern power dynamics, can you spot the lion? And more importantly, can you spot the fox expertly hiding their true nature? It's a provocative question to leave you with, for sure, and it's exactly why understanding these centuries-old mechanics of power remains so incredibly vital today.